My phone flashed a credit alert at 6:04 a.m., and it said a new account was opened in my name at an address I had never lived at. I stared at the screen in total silence, because the shame in my chest was louder than any scream I could have made. My name is Morgan. I am 31, and I work nights as a respiratory therapist. The kind of job where you learn to stay calm while alarms go off. That morning, my daughter Aria was sitting on the edge of a twin bed that wasn't ours, in a room that smelled like industrial laundry soap and someone else's dinner. Her hair was a soft, tangled halo from sleeping too hard. She was 6, and she'd gotten really good at watching my face before she asked questions. "Mom," she said carefully, like the word had glass in it, "is today a normal day?" I swallowed. "As normal as we can make it." She held up her shoes. One sneaker had a clean white lace. The other lace was missing completely, like it had escaped overnight. She didn't complain. She just looked at me with this quiet patience that made my throat burn. "Those are bold," I said, forcing my voice lighter. Aria grinned. "It's my style." I nodded like she was a fashion editor, but my hands were shaking as I tied what I could. Then I checked my phone again because I couldn't help it. The alert was still there, glowing like a bruise. New account, new address. A line of text that didn't match my life, yet somehow had my name attached to it like a tag. Outside, the hallway had the kind of echo that makes you keep your voice down. We weren't in an apartment. We weren't in a friend's spare room. We were at a family shelter on the edge of the city, and I had trained myself not to look up at the sign when we walked out. If I didn't read it, maybe it wouldn't be true. The air was sharp with winter. The sidewalk had a thin sheen of last night's drizzle. I zipped Aria's puffer coat up to her chin and made my face do that thing where it pretends it's fine. The bus stop was 2 blocks away. 2 blocks that felt like a stage. Aria stepped close to my side. She didn't reach for my hand because she'd started worrying about being a baby in front of other kids. But her shoulder kept bumping mine, like she needed proof that I was still there. "Halfway down the block," she asked. "Do I still have to say my address at school?" My stomach tightened, so fast it was almost a cramp. "Mrs. Lane probably won't ask," I said. "But if she does?" I tried to answer and realized my mouth was dry. My thoughts went straight to that moment in class when teachers do attendance and ask kids to share something simple, like where they live, and how simple questions can turn cruel when your life is complicated. "We'll handle it," I said finally. "You and me." Aria nodded like she believed me, which made me feel worse. Kids should believe their moms. That's how it's supposed to work. We reached the corner just as the morning got brighter, the sky turning that cold, pale color that looks clean but feels unforgiving. The shelter door behind us opened, and I flinched like I expected someone to call my name and tell me I wasn't allowed to pretend today. Instead, I heard a car. Not a rideshare, not a bus, not the usual traffic. It was a smooth engine, slow and deliberate, pulling up to the curb like it had a right to be there. A black SUV stopped beside us. The windows were tinted. The kind of car that usually meant someone important was inside, or someone who didn't want to be seen. Aria whispered, "Is that for us?" I didn't answer, because I didn't know. The back door opened, and a woman stepped out wearing a long camel coat, perfectly fitted, like she'd never once had to choose between warm and presentable. Her hair was pinned back in a way that made her face look sharper, more defined. She didn't glance around. She didn't hesitate. Her eyes went straight to me. My grandmother, Cordelia Wynne. I hadn't seen her in more than a year, and in my head she existed in the same place as old family photos. Clean, distant, untouchable. She was the type of wealthy that didn't announce itself with jewelry. It announced itself with calm. She took one look at the shelter entrance behind us, then at Aria's face, then back to mine, and something shifted. Not pity, not disgust, something colder, like someone had changed the rules without telling her. "Morgan," she said, and my name sounded strange in her voice, like it didn't belong out here in the cold. "What are you doing here?" My first instinct was to lie. I don't know why people act like lying is always about selfishness. Sometimes it's survival. Sometimes it's the last scrap of dignity you can hold with 2 hands. "I'm okay," I said too fast. "We're okay, it's temporary." Cordelia's gaze moved to Aria's shoes, then back to my face. She didn't comment on the missing lace. She didn't soften. She just took in everything, the way rich people do when they can't understand how someone's life got messy without permission. Then she asked, "Why aren't you living in your place on Juniper Court?" The sidewalk seemed to tilt. The cold air felt suddenly too thin. "My what?" I said. She didn't blink. Juniper Court, the townhouse, why aren't you there? Arya looked up at me, eyes wide. Hopeful. Like she was picturing a bedroom with posters and a door that locked. Mom, she whispered, we have a townhouse. I felt my face go hot. We don't, I said gently, but it came out strained. Honey, we don't. Cordelia stared at me like I'd spoken nonsense. And in that stare, I could see it. The math running behind her eyes. Timelines, transfers, assumptions. For a second, no one moved. The morning traffic kept going. Someone walked a dog across the street. Life kept being normal for everybody else. Cordelia's voice went quiet, controlled. Get in the car. I blinked. Grandma, get in the car, she repeated. And there was no argument in it, only a decision. Arya tugged my sleeve. It's okay, she whispered, as if she was the adult and I was the one falling apart. That broke me in a way. I didn't let my face show. I nodded once and climbed into the back seat beside my daughter. The interior smelled like leather and clean citrus, like a world where people didn't keep their belongings in plastic bins. The door shut with a soft, expensive sound that made me want to cry. Cordelia didn't start driving right away. She sat in the front seat, hands on the wheel, staring forward like she was looking at something only she could see. Then she spoke, calm as ice. Someone has been using my money as a weapon. My stomach flipped. I don't understand. No, she said. You don't. And that tells me exactly what I needed to know. She pulled out her phone and made a call so quickly it felt rehearsed. Dorian, she said when someone answered. I need the property manager for Juniper Court, right now, and I want the key log. I want to know who signed, who picked up keys, who authorized any rentals, and where the payments have been going. I stared at the back of her head, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my ears. Payments, rentals, Juniper Court. My name was still on the credit alert. My name was still on something I didn't touch. Suddenly, the shelter didn't feel like the biggest problem. It felt like the symptom of something planned. Hold on, tiny break. I read the comments when I'm worn out, and seeing your location reminds me I'm not telling these stories into an empty room. Like, subscribe and drop your city, state, or country. All right? Now let me take you back. Because 6 months earlier, I didn't think my life could crack this fast. Back then, I was still working full-time nights at the hospital, running ventilators and oxygen tanks, listening to heart monitors beep like metronomes. I was tired, yes, but I was proud. I was paying my bills. I was raising Arya. I was doing it. And then my mother called. My mom, Cynthia, had a voice that could sound sweet while she was cutting the ground out from under you. My father, Paul, didn't raise his voice much either. He didn't need to. He had mastered the art of sounding disappointed, like you were always one mistake away from being unlovable. Come stay with us, my mom said. Just for a little while, you're working too much, you need help. I should have heard the trap in the word help. But I didn't, because I was exhausted. Because I wanted to believe my parents were still the kind of parents who caught you when you slipped. So Arya and I moved into their condo. Temporary. That word again. A word that sounds safe until you realize it can be used like a leash. At first, it was fine. Tight but fine. Arya slept in the second bedroom. I kept my schedule. I cleaned up after us like we were guests because I knew how fast family could become burden if you weren't careful. Then little comments started. The kind that look harmless when you repeat them to someone else. You're always rushing, my mom would say, watching me pack Arya's lunch. It's like you can't manage your own home. My dad would sigh if Arya's backpack sat by the door. We like things orderly, Morgan. They never said thank you when I paid for groceries. They never said good job when I made it through another 14-hour shift. They just watched, measured, and waited for the day they could call me a problem. One night, after a brutal shift, I came home to find my mom sitting at the kitchen table with her hands folded like she was about to pray. We need to talk, she said. I didn't sit. Something in me already knew. She smiled softly. We think it's time you become independent again. I am independent, I said, too tired to be polite. I'm working. My dad leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. You're living here because you offered, I said. My mom's smile stayed in place. We did, and now we're adjusting the plan. Plan, like my life was a spreadsheet. She slid a paper across the table. Not official. Just a page she typed up with dates and expectations, like she was my landlord and not my mother. 30 days. My throat tightened. You can't be serious. My dad's voice was calm. It's reasonable. We're not kicking you out tomorrow. My mom tilted her head. If you're a good mother, you'll figure it out. That sentence hit me so hard I almost laughed. But nothing about it was funny. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I nodded Because that's what I've always done when I'm cornered. I nodded and went back to surviving, and I did try. I searched listings on my phone during breaks at the hospital, thumbs scrolling while alarms beeped in the background. I called places. I toured one cramped unit that smelled like wet dog and stale smoke. I got told the same thing over and over. Deposit. First and last. Credit check. Proof of income. Sorry, we went with another applicant. The worst part was I had income. I had a job. I had a child who deserved stability. Yet every door felt like it required a key I couldn't afford. And during that month, my parents got nicer. My mom offered to watch Arya sometimes. My dad made jokes again. They started saying things like, "See, we're all doing better already." At the time, I thought maybe they were easing up. Now I know they were managing me, softening me, keeping me calm while something else moved behind my back. Because right around then, my mom asked for my wallet one morning while I was tying my shoes for work. "Just for a second," she said. "I need your insurance card. Arya's school form needs it." I hesitated. My brain flickered with warning. But she was my mother and I was tired and I didn't want to fight before a shift, so I handed it over. She smiled. "Thank you, honey." I left for work and I didn't think about it again. Not until weeks later when my bank app showed a small deposit I didn't recognize. Not a paycheck. Something else. A transfer with a bland description that meant nothing. When I asked my mom about it, she laughed like I was silly. "Oh, that's just something your grandmother set up," she said. "Don't worry about it." I remember the way she said it. Too casual, too fast. But I swallowed my suspicion. Because I still wanted to believe my parents couldn't be the kind of people who would look at my struggle and think, "Good, now she'll listen." Back in the SUV, as Cordelia drove us away from the shelter, the city blurred past the tinted windows. Arya leaned against my arm, watching buildings slide by like she was trying to figure out which ones belonged to people who never had to explain their address. My phone buzzed again. Another alert. Another line of text. Another confirmation that my name was attached to an address that wasn't mine. I stared at it without speaking, because somewhere between temporary and family, my parents had built a whole second life, using my identity like it was theirs. And the next call Cordelia got, the one she put on speaker without warning, made my blood turn cold. A man's voice came through, professional and nervous. "Ms. Wynne, yes, I have the file. The keys were released months ago." Cordelia's voice stayed perfectly calm. "To whom?" A pause, a paper shuffle. "Cynthia and Paul, they signed." I closed my eyes, and my silence wasn't weakness anymore. It was the moment I realized I was done begging the people who were profiting from my desperation. Cordelia ended the call without another word, and the quiet inside the SUV felt heavier than the winter air outside. Arya was humming to herself, tracing shapes on the fogged window with one finger, like she could turn the glass into a different world. I stared at my hands in my lap. They looked normal. Dry knuckles, short nails, a faint bruise near my thumb from hauling oxygen tanks, hands that had pushed meds and squeezed strangers back to life, yet somehow couldn't stop my own parents from signing my name like it belonged to them. Cordelia glanced at me in the rearview mirror. "You are not going to text them," she said. I blinked. I was. "Yes, you were," she replied, like she could hear the impulse in my bones. "You were going to ask why. You were going to give them a chance to lie to you again." My mouth went tight. She was right. I hated that she was right. Arya leaned toward me. "Are we in trouble?" I forced my face to soften. "No, baby, we're safe." She studied me like she didn't fully believe it. Then she asked the question that made my throat close. "Do we get to sleep in a real house soon?" I couldn't answer without crying, so I did the only thing I could do. I kissed her forehead and nodded once, slow, like a promise I planned to earn. Cordelia drove us to a hotel that smelled like lemon cleaner and quiet money. The lobby had warm lights and a fake fireplace, and for a second I felt like an imposter walking across the polished floor in my thrifted coat and shelter tiredness. But Cordelia didn't hesitate. She didn't lower her voice. She didn't apologize for taking up space. She walked straight to the front desk like she owned the building. She booked a suite without looking at a price. Then she turned to me and said, "You and Arya will eat. You will shower. You will sleep. Your nervous system is not a negotiation." I wanted to argue. Pride tried to stand up, wobbly like a baby deer. Exhaustion shoved it back down again. Upstairs, Arya bounced on the bed like it was a trampoline, giggling into the pillows. I watched her laugh and felt the ache of it. She could still laugh, even after the shelter, even after the nights in the car. She hadn't become hardened yet. She was still soft, still hopeful. Cordelia opened her laptop at the small table by the window. She didn't waste time on comfort. She made comfort happen by solving the problem. Dorian is sending the documents, she said. Key log, lease records, payment routing, listing history. My pulse sped up. Listing history. Cordelia's eyes stayed on the screen. Yes, they did not simply sit on the keys. They turned the townhouse into income. The word income hit me like a slap. My parents had looked at a home meant for my child, and they had seen a business opportunity. My stomach rolled. I took my phone out again. The credit alert was still there. I opened the details, reading the lines until they blurred. New revolving account. My name. My social. Juniper Court. Cordelia noticed. Give me your phone, she said. I hesitated. Old habits. Guarding my information, guarding myself. She held out her hand without impatience, just certainty. So I gave it to her. She scrolled, then went to settings, then to a place I didn't even know existed and said, "We will freeze your credit today, right now. Then we will pull your reports. If they opened accounts, there will be fingerprints." I felt sick. What if I'm already ruined? Cordelia looked up. You are not ruined, you are targeted. That sentence did something to me. It moved the shame out of my chest and replaced it with anger. Clean anger, useful anger. My phone buzzed again, and for a second I thought it was another alert. But it was a message from my mother. Where are you? Call me. No hello. No how is Arya, no apology. Just a demand like I was still a child she could summon. I stared at it, and my fingers twitched, ready to reply, ready to explain, ready to beg her to be normal for once. Then Cordelia said, without looking at my screen, "Do not answer." But she knows, I whispered. Cordelia's voice stayed calm. She suspects there is a difference. Arya wandered over holding a tiny hotel shampoo bottle like it was a treasure. Is this fancy soap? Cordelia took it from her gently. Very fancy, she said, but we are not using it as a toy. Arya giggled. You sound like a principal. Cordelia's mouth twitched, almost a smile. I have been called worse. It was the first time I'd seen her soften around Arya, and the contrast made my eyes sting. My parents had lived 5 minutes from their granddaughter and treated her like a problem. Cordelia lived in a different world and still knew how to protect a child. An hour later, there was a knock at the door. A man in a suit stood outside with a slim folder, polite and careful, the kind of careful that meant he already understood the stakes. Ms. Wynne, he said, nodding to Cordelia. I'm from Dorian's office. These are the files. Cordelia took the folder. Thank you, leave us. He did, and the door clicked shut behind him like the beginning of something irreversible. Cordelia opened the folder and slid the first document toward me. A key log. My mother's name, Cynthia, printed beside a signature line. Date stamped. Time stamped. My hands started to shake. I pressed my palms flat against the paper like I could force it to stop being real. Cordelia flipped to the next page. A copy of the leasing agreement. Tenant names were visible, not people I knew, just strangers. Move-in date. Rent amount. It was higher than anything I could have afforded, which made me want to laugh and vomit at the same time. Then the payment routing page. It didn't go to my parents' personal account. It went to an account labeled with an LLC name I recognized, because I'd heard my father brag about it once at Thanksgiving, like he was some kind of businessman. He had called it a family investment vehicle. It was his way of hiding things while smiling. My throat tightened. They made an LLC. Cordelia nodded. And they routed the payments there. It keeps the money away from curious eyes. I stared at the page until my vision blurred. So they stole the house, then hid the profit. Yes, Cordelia said, like she was confirming whether. And they lied to me while doing it. I felt my cheeks burn. Why would they do this to me? Cordelia didn't answer like she was guessing. She answered like she'd seen patterns like this before. Because you were useful, and because you stayed quiet. That hurt because it was true. My parents had trained me to stay quiet, to be grateful, to accept crumbs and call them love. Arya climbed onto the couch and curled into a ball with the TV remote, eyes half-lidded. She was tired in that deep way kids get when their bodies finally realize they're safe enough to rest. I lowered my voice. What do we do now? Cordelia leaned forward. Now we verify occupancy. Now we pull every message, every email, every transaction. Then we let your parents continue behaving like nothing happened. My stomach nodded. You want to let them keep doing it. Cordelia's gaze didn't move. I want them comfortable. I want them confident. People who feel safe make sloppy mistakes. My skin prickled. That was not how my brain worked. I had been living in panic. I wanted immediate justice. I wanted to explode. But Cordelia was teaching me something different. Quiet didn't have to mean powerless. That afternoon, Cordelia asked for my iPhone. Again, she opened my email, searched my name, searched Juniper, searched property, searched manager. At first, nothing. Then she changed one setting, a small thing. She checked the trash folder. There it was, an email thread from the property manager. Confirmation, welcome packet, payment schedule, maintenance updates, all sent to an email address that looked like mine, but wasn't. One letter swapped. One tiny mistake designed to redirect my life. My breath caught. They made a fake email. Cordelia nodded slowly. Micro twist number 1, she said, not as a joke, as a diagnosis. They created an identity that only existed for documents. I felt cold all over. It wasn't just theft. It was planning. I went to the bathroom and threw up quietly so Arya wouldn't hear. Then I rinsed my mouth, stared at myself in the mirror, and tried to recognize the woman looking back. My eyes looked older than 31. My face looked like it had been folded and unfolded too many times. When I came out, Cordelia was already on another call. She wasn't raising her voice. She never had to. Her calm carried weight. Yes, she said into the phone. I want the security footage from the Juniper Court entry camera. Whatever system you have, I want it today. She listened, then said, No, this is not a request. She ended the call and looked at me. They installed a door camera. I blinked. My parents did. Cordelia's expression tightened. No, I did, for you. The air left my lungs. You installed security for my house, and they still took it. Cordelia's gaze softened for a fraction. That is why I want the footage. An hour later, she had it. A link, a login, a timeline. She pulled it up on the laptop and angled it so I could see. The screen showed the front door of a townhouse I had never stood in front of. A clean porch. A wreath. A world I should have been building with my daughter. Then the footage jumped to a date. My mother walking up with a small box, smiling. Not the tight, fake smile she used on me. A real one. The kind she used when she was getting what she wanted. Then my father, carrying something bulky. A rolled-up rug, like he was moving in. Then another clip, weeks later. A couple I didn't recognize. They carried suitcases. My mother greeted them at the door, gesturing inside like a hostess. I covered my mouth with my hand, and my eyes burned. She welcomed them. Cordelia's voice stayed steady. Yes, I watched my mother laugh at something the woman said, watched my father shake the man's hand, watched the door close behind them. I felt something in me crack, but it wasn't my spirit. It was my loyalty. My phone buzzed again. Another message from my mother. You are being dramatic. Your grandmother is old. Do not confuse her. I stared at those words until my hands stopped shaking. Because the worst part was, she was trying to rewrite reality even now. She was already building a story where I was unstable, and she was reasonable. Cordelia watched my face. Do you see it? She asked. Yes, I whispered. She's preparing to blame me. Cordelia nodded. Good, then we will give her no room. That night, Cordelia ordered dinner to the room. Arya ate chicken fingers and dipped them in ketchup with the concentration of a scientist. I ate 2 bites and couldn't swallow anymore. After Arya fell asleep, Cordelia slid another document across the table, a calendar invite. My mother had sent it to extended family, titled Family Dinner, with a venue address and dress code. Cordelia tapped the screen. They are hosting a public performance. My stomach tightened. They love witnesses. Cordelia looked at me, and her eyes were sharp again. And now they will have the right ones. I swallowed. Are you going to confront them? Cordelia's mouth didn't move much when she spoke. No, I'm going to correct the record. There is a difference. My phone lit up one more time, and this time it wasn't my mother. It was a message from a cousin I barely spoke to. Heard you finally got that townhouse. Must be nice. My skin went cold. They had been talking about it. They had been using my name in rooms I wasn't in, like a decoration. Cordelia watched me read it. Micro twist number 2, she said quietly. They have already sold your story to the family. We will not argue with it. We will replace it. I stared at the hotel carpet, my heart thudding. What do you need from me? Cordelia's voice was almost gentle. You will say very little. You will let them talk. You will let them hang themselves. I nodded slowly, feeling something shift. A new kind of calm, not peace, focus. Before bed, I stepped onto the balcony for air. The city lights looked far away, like stars you couldn't touch. Somewhere out there was a townhouse with my name on it, my child's future inside it, and strangers sleeping in it like it belonged to them. Behind me, Cordelia spoke softly. Tomorrow, you will walk in first. My pulse jumped. Why? So they see you, she said. Before they see me. I pictured my mother's smile glitching, my father's face tightening, their eyes scanning my body for weakness, for dirt, for proof that I deserved what they did. And I realized something frightening. I wasn't scared of the room anymore. I was scared of how easy it would be to forgive them if they cried. Cordelia's voice cut through my thoughts like a clean blade. Do not confuse tears with truth. I turned back inside, looked at my sleeping daughter, and felt the last soft part of my old loyalty settle into place like a stone. Tomorrow, my parents were going to see me standing upright, and they were going to understand, too late, that I had finally stopped shrinking. The next morning, I woke up before my alarm, heart already racing like I had missed something important. The hotel room was still dark. Arya was curled on her side, clutching the hotel pillow like it belonged to her. Her cheeks looked softer in sleep, like her body had finally decided it was allowed to rest. Cordelia was already dressed, not in an evening gown, not in anything flashy, just a clean, tailored suit, the kind that made you stand straighter just by being near it. She held a paper cup of coffee like it was medicine. You slept, I asked. A little, she said. Enough. My stomach twisted. What if I freeze? Then you breathe, Cordelia replied. And you keep your mouth shut. I managed a small, humorless laugh. You make it sound easy. It is not easy, she said. It is controlled. Arya stirred, blinked at us, then sat up, rubbing her eyes. Are we going somewhere fancy? Cordelia crouched down, and it still shocked me how naturally she did it now. We are going somewhere loud, she said. But you will not be in the loud part. Arya's eyes widened. Do I get snacks again? Yes, Cordelia said. Better ones. Arya accepted that like a contract, then slid off the bed and padded to the bathroom, humming. She was excited by the idea of a different day, and the innocence of it nearly broke me. While Arya brushed her teeth, Cordelia opened her laptop and showed me one more file. The townhouse deed. My name was there, but not the way I expected. It was held in a trust structure. It meant the house could not be intercepted through my parents. It meant it could not be rented without authorization. It meant someone had deliberately built a safety net, and my parents had cut holes in it anyway. How did they even manage to do this? I whispered. Cordelia's expression tightened. They exploited access. They used their signatures to pick up keys. They created an account, created an email, and presented themselves as your agents. Agents, that word made my skin crawl. And the family believes them, I said. Cordelia looked at me. The family believes whatever story arrives first, wrapped in confidence. Arya stepped out of the bathroom with toothpaste foam still at the corner of her mouth. Mom, is my hair okay? I smoothed her curls back. Perfect, she smiled, and it was like watching a candle still burning in a storm. We left the hotel mid-afternoon. Cordelia didn't tell me to wear makeup, but she had insisted I wear something clean, something simple, something that fit. Not armor, she said, dignity. I had chosen a navy dress from a department store rack. It wasn't expensive, it was just mine. Arya wore tights and a sweater dress, and she twirled once in the hallway, asking if she looked like a teacher. You look like yourself, I told her, and I meant it like a blessing. The event was at a private venue, a place with soft lighting and hard smiles. My parents had titled it a family celebration, but I knew the truth. It was a display. It was them performing stability to keep people from asking questions. The sign near the entrance had their last name in scripted letters. It made my stomach drop anyway, because seeing it felt like stepping back into a room where I had learned to shrink. Cordelia stopped by a side door before we went in. A staff member nodded and led us to a small private lounge with water bottles and crackers, quiet and warm. Cordelia turned to Arya. This is your room, she said. You will stay here with Ms. Hale. She is safe. You will have snacks. And when your mom comes back, you will go home. Arya looked at Ms. Hale, a calm woman with kind eyes, then back at me. Are you going to be mad, Mom? I crouched so I could look into her face. No, I whispered. I am going to be steady. Arya nodded like she understood. She hugged me tight, then ran straight to the snack tray like nothing else in the world mattered. Cordelia watched me stand up again. You go in first, she said. My heart thudded. Right now, she answered. Let them see you before they see me. I walked into the main room alone. The chatter dipped, then returned. People noticed me, but no one wanted to be the first to name what it meant. The room smelled like catered food and perfume, that sweet artificial scent of people pretending. Then I saw my mother. Cynthia's smile appeared on her face automatically, bright and practiced, then stuttered when her eyes landed on me. Her hand tightened around a wine glass so hard I thought it might crack. My father, Paul, turned a second later. His laugh died halfway through. He straightened his shoulders, The way he did when he wanted to look like the victim before anything happened. Neither of them walked toward me. They didn't ask where I had been. They didn't ask how Arya was. They just stared, calculating, waiting for me to explain myself. I did not. I stood near the edge of the room and let my silence become a mirror. If they wanted a scene, they were going to have to build it without my help. My cousin drifted closer, the same one who had texted about the townhouse. He looked me over, confused. "Hey," he said slowly. "I thought you were settled." I kept my voice calm. "That is what they told you." His eyebrows lifted. "Yeah, they said you got a place. Juniper Court, right?" My stomach stayed tight, but my face stayed smooth. "Interesting," I said softly, like I was just filing it away. He frowned. "Wait, you do not live there." I did not answer. I just looked past him, toward my parents, and watched my mother's eyes flicker when she realized the question had been asked out loud. That's when I understood Cordelia's strategy. I didn't have to accuse. I just had to exist. A minute later, the temperature in the room shifted. Cordelia entered, unhurried, composed, and beside her was Dorian, carrying a slim laptop bag and a folder. Behind them, near the wall, stood a uniformed officer, not aggressive, not dramatic, just present. My mother went pale, not surprised pale, exposed pale. Paul's jaw clenched. Cynthia's lips parted slightly, like she wanted to speak but couldn't decide which lie would survive longest. Cordelia greeted a few relatives, as if she were simply attending a celebration. Then she looked at my mother. "Cynthia," she said lightly, "before we eat, I would like to clarify something." My mother's laugh came out too high. "Of course, Cordelia. What is this about?" Cordelia's tone stayed gentle, almost polite. "You told me Morgan was living in the townhouse on Juniper Court." The room quieted. Not completely, just enough. People leaned in without meaning to. Cynthia's smile tightened. "Well, yes, she is. She wanted privacy, so we have not made a big thing of it." Cordelia nodded once, as if that made perfect sense. "Good," she said. "Then this will be easy." She turned her head slightly to Dorian. "Go ahead." Dorian walked to the projector setup near the front, plugged in his laptop, and the screen lit up. The first slide was simple. Juniper Court property file. A murmur rippled through the room, like a breeze through dry leaves. Cynthia's eyes darted. Paul's shoulders rose as if he was preparing to argue. Cordelia spoke like she was reading a list. "This property was arranged for Morgan and Arya. I funded it. The purpose was stability." Next slide. Key log. The release date was highlighted. The signature line showed Cynthia's name. Cordelia did not look at Cynthia when she said it. "Keys were collected by Cynthia and Paul." My mother's voice jolted in. "We were helping. She was overwhelmed." Cordelia held up a hand, calm. "Let us continue." Next slide. A rental listing screenshot with photos of a furnished living room, a kitchen, a childless guest room staged to look perfect. My cousin's eyes widened. Someone whispered, "That is a rental listing." Cordelia's voice stayed even. The townhouse was marketed as a furnished rental. Cynthia's face started to shake, and she tried to laugh again. "That is not what that is. That is probably old." Dorian clicked to the next slide. Lease dates, tenant move-in date, payment amount, then the payment routing page, an account name, an LLC, Paul's investment vehicle. The room went dead quiet, in a way that made my ears ring. Cordelia turned slightly, letting her gaze move over the faces watching. "The rental income was not sent to Morgan," she said. "It was sent to an account controlled by Cynthia and Paul." My father finally snapped, voice loud, trying to take back oxygen. "This is inappropriate. You are humiliating us at a family event." Cordelia looked at him, and her calm made his volume look childish. "Yes," she said. "That is the point." Cynthia's eyes went wet. "We had bills," she said quickly. "We were going to tell her it was only temporary." Cordelia repeated the word softly, like tasting something bitter. "Temporary." Then she said the sentence that landed like a weight on the table. "You displaced a child for profit." Someone gasped. A chair scraped. The officer didn't move, but his presence made it clear this wasn't just drama. It was consequence. Cynthia started crying harder, and for a split second my body reacted the old way. My chest tightened. My mind tried to reach for compassion, because I had been trained to rescue her feelings even when she was hurting me. But I remembered what I had been afraid of. How easy it would be to forgive if she cried. Cordelia didn't raise her voice. She simply said, "I have already initiated recovery of the funds. I have already notified the proper channels. And I have already amended my estate plans." Cynthia's crying stopped like a switch. Paul's face changed. "You cannot do that." Cordelia's eyes stayed steady. "I can, and I did." Dorian stepped forward with the folder. "Mr. Collins, Ms. Collins." he said politely. "These documents are notice of investigation and instruction to cooperate. There is also a restraining notice regarding contact with Morgan and her child." My mother's mouth opened. No sound came out. Paul's hands shook as he took the papers, and the room seemed to tilt around him as he realized every witness in the room was watching him fail at controlling the story. Cynthia turned to me, eyes wide, pleading. "Morgan," she said, voice breaking. "Tell her to stop. We are your parents." I took a slow breath. I did not rush. I did not flare. I kept my voice calm because calm was the only way to make my words land. "You were my parents," I said quietly. "Then you turned my daughter's home into your paycheck." Cynthia's face crumpled. Paul looked like he wanted to argue again, but the room no longer belonged to him. The officer stepped closer, not grabbing anyone, simply indicating the direction toward a quieter hallway. Cordelia leaned toward Cynthia and Paul, voice low enough to be private but clear enough to be heard by the people nearest. "You will cooperate," she said. "You will return what you took, and you will not contact Morgan again." Then Cordelia looked at me, and her gaze softened just a fraction. "Go get Arya." I walked out of the main room without looking back. My legs felt numb, like my body didn't trust the floor yet. In the private lounge, Arya was sitting cross-legged with crumbs on her sweater, happily coloring. She looked up when I came in. "Mom, are we done?" I crouched and hugged her so tight she squeaked. "Yes," I whispered into her hair. "We are done." Arya leaned back and studied my face like she was checking weather. "Can we go home now?" I swallowed hard, and the answer came out clean, because for the first time it was true. Yes. In the car, Arya fell asleep against my shoulder before we reached the highway. Her breathing was slow. Safe. Cordelia drove without music, eyes on the road like she was guiding us out of a storm. "What happens next?" I asked softly. Cordelia's voice stayed steady. "Next, we take the townhouse back. The tenants will be relocated properly. You will move in, and your name will be protected so no one can borrow your life again." I stared out the window as streetlights slid past. My phone buzzed once, and my heart jumped, but it wasn't a new fraud alert. It was a notification that my credit freeze was active, my identity locked. A week later, I stood on the porch of Juniper Court with Arya's hand in mine. The air smelled like fresh paint and cold wood. The locks had been changed. The cameras were reset. The mailbox had my name on it, printed neatly, no tricks, no swapped letters. Inside, the house was empty, but it didn't feel hollow. It felt like a beginning. Arya ran through the rooms like she was counting them, laughing when her footsteps echoed. She found the smallest bedroom and declared it hers, then taped her first drawing on the wall with crooked pride. That night, after she fell asleep in her own bed, I stood in the hallway and listened to the quiet. It was not the shelter quiet, not the tense quiet of someone else's home. This was the kind of quiet that meant no one was waiting to throw you out. No one was profiting from your struggle. No one could rewrite your story while you slept. Cordelia visited on Sundays. She brought pastries and acted like she was only there for Arya, but I saw the way she looked around the house, checking the corners of my life like she was making sure it stayed mine. As for Cynthia and Paul, the truth did what it always does when it finally gets air. It spread. Their friends stopped calling. Their excuses didn't stick. Their image cracked, and no amount of smiling could glue it back together. Months later, my phone lit up in the middle of a quiet evening, and for a second my body braced for another alert. But it was just a calendar reminder I had set for myself. First night in our home, 1 year later. I walked to the front door, placed my palm on the lock, and turned it, feeling the click like a vow I made to my daughter and myself.